You know that feeling when you check your emails Monday morning and there are already 3 fires that need putting out before 9 a.m.? Or when you're in the middle of planning strategic goals, but your day gets hijacked by team drama, performance issues, and crisis management? Here's what I've learned after 33 years of leadership and working with many managers. Most leaders are completely exhausted because they're trying to control things that are impossible to control. Today, I want to share something that has completely transformed how I show up as a leader, and it's changed everything for the managers I work with. It's called the circle of control versus circle of influence, and when you get this right, you stop feeling like you're drowning in leadership responsibilities. Currently, if you're like most managers, you're likely operating within what I call your circle of concern. This is where you spend mental energy on things like whether your team will hit this month's targets, why your star employee seems disengaged lately, how senior leadership perceives your department's performance, whether the new policies from head office will actually work, that reorganisation rumour that's got everyone unsettled. All things that matter to your success but that you can't directly control. Then there's your circle of influence, where your real leadership power lives. How you communicate expectations to your team, the culture you create through your daily actions, how you respond when performance drops, the questions you ask in one-to-ones, how you advocate upwards for your team's needs, and at the centre of it all, your circle of control, the things that are completely yours to decide, your own mindset and stress levels, how prepared you are for meetings, the decisions you make about priorities, your response when things go wrong, whether you address issues quickly or let them fester. Here's what happens when you operate primarily from your circle of concern, and I see this pattern constantly. You arrive at work already mentally carrying your team's problems, the department's challenges, and the company's pressures. You spend your day reacting to whatever crisis lands on your desk instead of leading proactively. You lie awake wondering why your team isn't more motivated, why that project went wrong, or how you're going to manage next quarter's impossible targets. You feel responsible for everything but in control of nothing. This isn't about being a caring leader. This is about misplaced leadership energy. When you focus on everything you can't control, those problems feel bigger, more urgent, and more impossible to solve. You end up feeling like a firefighter instead of a leader. Now here's where everything changes when you start operating primarily from your circles of control and influence. In your control, you decide how you start each day. Instead of immediately diving into emails, you take 5 minutes to identify your top 3 priorities. That's leadership. In your influence, when your team member seems disengaged, instead of worrying about their motivation, you schedule a proper one-to-one to understand what's happening. That's influence. In your control, you choose how you respond when a project goes off track. Do you panic and micromanage, or do you gather the facts and problem solve? That's your choice. In your influence, you can't control whether senior leadership appreciates your department, but you can influence it by how you communicate your team's wins, challenges, and needs upwards. See the difference? You move from feeling powerless to feeling purposeful. Let me give you a concrete example. Your team consistently misses deadlines and you're facing pressure from above. The old approach might be endless worry. Why can't they just get their act together? What if we lose this client? Senior leadership is going to think I can't manage my team. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. That's operating from concern, and it's draining your leadership energy. Let's look at operating from your circles of control and influence. You control your response. Instead of panic, you gather data. What's really causing the delays? Where are the bottlenecks? You influence the solution. You call a team meeting. Not to blame, but to understand. I've noticed we're struggling with deadlines. Help me understand what's getting in the way. You control how you communicate upwards. You present the situation honestly, along with your action plan. Here's what I've discovered and here's how we're addressing it. Result? Problems get solved, your team feels supported, and senior leadership sees you as a capable problem solver, not someone who makes excuses. Here's what changes when you master this approach. Monday mornings no longer feel overwhelming. You know exactly where to focus your energy for maximum impact. You stop feeling like you're constantly behind because you're working on things that actually move the needle. Your team starts bringing you solutions, not just problems, because they see you as someone who empowers rather than controls. You sleep better because you're focused on what you can actually influence rather than worrying about things beyond your reach. Most importantly, you start feeling like the strategic leader you always wanted to be, calm, focused, and genuinely effective. Your leadership challenge this week. Here's your practical exercise. Step 1. List the top 3 leadership challenges that are currently draining your energy. Step 2. For each challenge, categorize. What am I worrying about that I can't control? What could I influence if I approach this strategically? What is entirely within my control as a leader right now? Step 3. Identify one action from your circle of control and one from your circle of influence for each challenge. Step 4. This week, focus only on those actions. Ignore everything in your concern circle. Perhaps it's having that performance conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's restructuring your team meetings to be more strategic. Perhaps it's about setting clearer expectations instead of relying on people to figure it out. I know this feels like a significant shift. I've been that leader who felt responsible for everything and in control of nothing. I've experienced the Sunday evening dread, wondering how I would handle another week of chaos. But here's what 3 decades of leadership experience has taught me. The most effective leaders aren't the ones who worry about everything. They're the ones who act strategically on what they can actually influence. You already have everything you need to be that leader. You just need to redirect your energy to where it can actually make a difference. When you focus on your circles of control and influence, everything changes. Your stress decreases, your impact increases, and your team starts performing at levels you never thought possible. That's the kind of leadership that creates lasting results for your team, your organization, and for you.